They don't tell you this at the start. Success isn't hard because it's far. It's hard because it's heavy. And if you're not built to carry it, it'll break you the moment you touch it. So let's talk about what actually holds you up when everything around you starts shifting. Because no matter how fast the world moves, one thing has to stay steady. You're the only thing that should stay constant on your path to success. Let's talk about change for a minute, because one thing I can promise you, change is coming. Whether you're ready for it or not, it will show up. And how you handle that as a leader, that's going to determine how far you go. Some of that change will be good, some of it won't. Most of the time, it's both at once. Here's what people don't tell you. Success never follows a straight upward path. Most of the time, it's a jagged, messy climb. But if you look at someone's resume, it's all clean and polished. It shows the wins, not the wounds. It tells you what they've done right, but leaves out everything that went wrong. Yet the real growth, that happens in the lows. You learn just as much, if not more, from what didn't work. One of the hardest things in leadership is stepping into something you didn't build from the ground up. When you inherit a system, a team, or an organization, you don't always know where the cracks are. There's something powerful about riding the waves yourself, about being in the trenches, building, falling, rising. It makes you different as a leader. It gives you depth. When companies look at leaders or team members, they usually start with credentials. Where you went to school, your past roles, your experience. In other words, they're trying to figure out are you smart? They don't ask it directly, but they're checking your IQ. But here's what often gets missed until later. Your emotional intelligence. How do you handle pressure? Can you keep your head when everything around you is falling apart? Because here's the truth. You can hire someone with all the skills in the world, but if they crumble under pressure, it won't matter. You don't really know what someone's made of until the ride gets rough. What you really want to find out is, can they hold it together when things fall apart? Can they lead when it's not easy? Because leadership isn't just about celebrating wins. It's about surviving storms. If you can't stomach the dip, you're not ready for the climb. Emotional strength is what keeps you going when the pressure hits. It's the ability to stay centered in chaos. Even when you're freaking out inside, you've got to stay calm on the outside, because nothing shakes people more than a panicked leader. Look, I don't know much about flying, but I know this. Turbulence doesn't scare me unless the flight crew looks scared. If they stay calm, I'm good. But if the pilot comes out looking rattled, I'm grabbing the life vest. It's the same in leadership. If you lose your composure, the team loses confidence. That's what happens when someone has the intelligence, but not the emotional stability. They collapse, they lash out, they panic. The fallout affects everyone. So yes, intelligence matters, emotional maturity matters, but there's something even more crucial in today's world, and nobody teaches it. AQ, your adaptability quotient. Can you adjust? Can you pivot? Can you evolve when everything around you changes? This is the core of leadership today. You've got to lead through change, through growth you didn't expect and losses you didn't plan for. Adaptability is everything. Starting a business, hiring a team. It's a bit like getting married. You think you know what you're signing up for, but you really don't. When I officiate weddings, I hear those vows for better or worse, and the couple says, I do, without ever knowing what worse looks like. Same with hiring. You say yes to a person or a plan, and later wonder, did I make the right call? You won't find out in the interview. You find out in the fire. Can they handle the pressure? Can they handle success? Because success brings its own kind of stress. You might land the big opportunity, but can you handle the demand that comes with it? Sometimes you outgrow your own systems. You get the blessing, but you don't have the infrastructure to carry it. And if you hire for where you are instead of where you're headed, you've already limited your growth. Let me say it again. The only thing that needs to stay steady on this ride is you. So here's the real question. When the pressure hits, when the stakes rise, when your industry, your team, or your world feels like it's spinning, do you have a playbook, or are you just winging it? Because mindset alone won't carry you through chaos. At some point, you have to know how to lead the system, not just survive it. And that's what we're getting into next. So how do you lead through turbulence? Not reactively, but strategically. It starts with one principle. Get off the dance floor. Get on the balcony. What does that mean? Most leaders are stuck in the movement. They're reacting, responding, firefighting every day, all day. But if you're always on the dance floor, you only see the chaos around you. You never get the full view. To lead adaptively, you've got to step back and see the system. You need to watch how people move, how power shifts, how conflict simmers. Look at the alliances, the undercurrents, the real issues, not just the loud ones. When you're on the balcony, you see what most miss, the patterns that create the chaos. And once you see it clearly, you don't just act, you interpret, you frame, you plan your move, not from impulse, but from intelligence. Next, distinguish the technical from the adaptive. This is where seasoned leaders often slip. They treat every fire like a technical fix, when in reality, most are adaptive in nature. A technical problem? That's something a policy, a system, or a subject matter expert can solve. But an adaptive challenge? That requires people, sometimes entire cultures, to rethink values, let go of old habits, and change deeply embedded behaviors. Here's the kicker. Adaptive challenges almost always feel like personal loss. You're not just changing structures, you're asking people to change identity, status, influence, maybe even their sense of safety. And that's why you need the next move. Regulate the heat. Adaptive leadership is about pressure, but pressure that's productive. Too much and people shut down or rebel. Too little and nothing changes. You've got to find the productive zone of disequilibrium. It's the sweet spot where people feel enough tension to change, but not enough to collapse, like cooking under pressure. It only works if the heat is right. That means as a leader, you are managing more than strategy. You're managing the temperature of your team, your boardroom, your culture. And when things get hot, you hold steady. Because if the leader flinches, the whole system panics. Now let's talk about orchestration. Real leaders don't avoid conflict, they orchestrate it. They create environments where tough issues can surface, but stay contained. Where elephants in the room get named, but don't stampede. They pick who needs to be in the room, what role they'll play, and how much truth the system can handle. This is leadership as choreography, not control. You're not telling people what to do. You're guiding them through discomfort until they can adapt together. You also give the work back. This one's hard for high achievers, especially founders, executives, and power players. When you lead adaptively, your job isn't to solve everything. It's to empower people to solve what only they can. You guide, you coach, you ask the hard questions, but you don't carry their load. Because the moment you carry it all, you rob them of the chance to grow through it. And in chaos, people don't need superheroes. They need leaders who develop leadership around them. Here's another key. Don't personalize the resistance. When you challenge people to adapt, they'll resist. Not because they hate you, but because loss is hard. They'll question your decisions. They'll talk. Some will even push back hard. Don't take it personally. That resistance, that's the work. You're stretching them, and stretch always meets strain. Hold your position. Stay rooted. Keep pointing toward the larger purpose, even when the arrows come. Last, and maybe most important, know your why. Because leadership in chaos isn't just strategy, it's soul. If you're not deeply connected to the reason you lead, the pressure will break you. Purpose isn't soft. Purpose is ballast. It keeps you steady when everything else is in flux. And the more clearly your team sees that purpose in you, the more they'll trust you to lead them through.